is now, good evening. It is now 6 o'clock on July 1st, 2025. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Board. The Planning Board is a 7-member board. Any special permit decision of this board requires a 2/3 vote. 2/3 of a 7-member board is 5. If only 5 members vote, the vote would have to be unanimous. Any decision on preliminary and definitive plans, approval not required, and proposed zoning amendments requires a majority vote of the full board. Any decision on scenic road permits requires a majority of the quorum present. Any person giving testimony must state and spell their name and provide their street address for the record. All questions from the public should be directed through the chair. This meeting is live and streamed on Sandwich Community Television's website and on local Channel 9. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on SCTV website at www.sandwichtv.org tomorrow. According to town bylaw, meetings are audio recorded. If anyone intends to also record, kindly notify the chair. Does anybody want to record? I guess not. Okay, together, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll now review and approve the minutes of the 6/17/25 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from June 17th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Is there any submission of new plans?
Yes. I'm Dan McKenzie from Horsey Witten Group, and I'm asking the board to re-endorse a plan that you endorsed on May 20th of this year. The plan was under land court jurisdiction, so since you've signed off on that, they've had come back with a review. They've asked for a few revisions on the plan. I see them as minor. They basically asked for a lot. I should be distributing this, right, to everybody? Copies here.
Thank you. I can share it,
So the revisions requested by land court were make the new property line solid lines. I had it dashed on the prior. They also asked me to add the lot numbers, land court lot numbers, which were not on that plan on May 20th. And they also asked me to remove the registry box and certification. That would allow me to record that in the regular registry, but this is going to be recorded in land court, so that was their request on that. I also have a copy of the plan that was endorsed on the 20th. If anybody wants to see that.
Thank you.
Here's a comparison. There's also one other thing I didn't mention was the changing of one bearing. Land court.
Oh, yeah, here, well, let's see that so you can.
Yeah, let me just point that out.
Yeah.
Was this, okay, so this length of 3466, which is,
They're right there.
so the calculated bearing is what I came up with my math when I did the calculations for the property line. It comes out at a minute difference for the length of 34 feet, 66 hundredths, which basically adds up to about 200ths, which is an eighth, quarter of an inch. So that was just the difference between my math and the land court, but that's what land court does. They're very precise. So that's why I needed to change that bearing. And I just noted the bearing as what I calculated and what they saw in their record plans. So those are the changes that they requested. And nothing's changed about the size of the lot, the dimensions of the lot. It still remains the same.
Does the board have any questions?
Do you guys want to see this?
No, that's fine.
You're good? Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Anyone else? Any questions? No? Sam, would you like to chime in here?
These are all minor changes. I have no objection to endorsing this.
Thanks for bringing all the plans.
Yeah.
Could I have a motion from the planning board to endorse an approval not required for 85 Route 6A?
I make a motion to endorse the plan presented for A&R at 85 Route 6A.
Second the motion?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Great, thank you.
Would you like these back, Mr. McKenzie?
If you have no use for them, I'll be glad to recycle them.
Maybe one.
That's the
one with the
original one.
dots.
Is that the original?
Yeah, this one didn't really fold.
Yes.
Did you bring your Milo?
Yeah, in my lot, yes.
And take.
That's the new.
This is the new.
It's the
We
one
passed
with
the
the
dotted line, we passed it down.
dotted line on this is going to be the old one. If it doesn't have the dotted line, then it's.
Where do I sign it?
So these are, I just want to make sure, these are the ones you just submitted. Can you just confirm for me? Because we have to sign these. Yep.
Question. I never even paid attention. I've been here in the summer. Crazy all here.
Recyclable? Yeah.
And you have to sign with the Sharpie. Please.
You want, so you've already got a copy. You
Yeah,
want
maybe
me-
when it gets ready, just send it to
Oh, yeah,
us.
sure. Will do. Great, thank you all.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Now we will go to item number 5, old business, 36 Asa Meiggs Road, cluster special permit with an approval not required land division for the purpose of creating a 3-lot cluster subdivision. I just want to remind folks, the public hearing for the cluster special permit remains open. Steve, would you like to give us an update?
I can. So we've had a number of plan revisions come in since the last time the committee, the board spoke and took a look at this project. It's been continued a few times while we worked out those details. For the approval not required aspect of the plan, I think we've got adequate frontage and access to the road demonstrated. The items that were outstanding seem to have been addressed, including looking for stamps, providing covenants to protect the open space, and other items that were previously missing or different than was expected. So I think we're up to speed with what we need for an A&R.
We did receive a memorandum from Sam Jensen, which I will read into the record, dated June 26, 2025. Subject, LRME LLC applications for cluster development special permit and approval not required plan, land off of Asa Meiggs Road, parcel 03-048-. The engineering department has reviewed the subject applications, including demonstration plan with a revision date of May 27, 2025, and approval not required plan of land dated 7/16/2025. Previous comments are italicized with status in bold font. New comments are in plain font below. Number 1, italicized. The demonstration plan received is low resolution and some portions are illegible. The plan is not adequate to support full review. It is recommended that the demonstration plan be submitted in a full-size, to-scale format that clearly depicts all lines, annotations, and other features. In bold font, this was addressed. Number 2, italicized. It is not clear that Lot 1, shown on the cluster special permit demonstration plan, meets zoning requirements for lot frontage and lot area. The May 2024 zoning bylaw definition of lot area states in part, no part of the lot area employed for zoning compliance shall be more distant from the street line than 4 times the lot frontage. And the bylaw defines lot frontage as that portion of a lot fronting upon a street measured continuously along the street sideline between side lot lines, or in the case of a corner lot, between one side lot and the midpoint of the corner radius. For lots on the outside of a curve whose radius is 120 feet or less, the lot frontage may be reduced at the street line to 60% of the required lot frontage, provided that the full required frontage can be met at the front building line. It appears that the lot frontage for Lot 1, being a corner lot, may either be defined as 103.71 feet along Asa Meiggs Road plus half the corner arc, or 96.98 feet along the subdivision road plus half the corner arc. The zoning requirement for minimum lot frontage of 200 feet or 120 feet on the outside of a qualifying curve does not appear to be met. The Lot 1 zoning compliance area is estimated to be between 450 feet and 766 feet from the closest point of the lot frontage. 4 times the lot frontage using the longer option is estimated to be approximately 415 feet, and the entirety of the compliance area appears to be well outside of that. Additionally, it is not clear that the lots benefiting from the allowed frontage reduction on the outside of the qualifying curve satisfy the requirements that, in quotes, full required frontage can be met at the front building line, end quotes. Given this, it is not clear that this plan demonstrates that 3 conventional conforming lots can be created from this parcel. This was addressed in bold. The department recognizes that the revised demonstration plan appears to conform to zoning requirements and support a 3-lot yield for the subject parcel. Number 3, it is noted that the plan submitted with Form A application for endorsement of plan believed not to be required approval is titled as a definitive plan of land with a planning board signature block stating that the approval under the subdivision control law is required. It is advised that the apparent conflict be addressed. In bold, it is noted that the plan dated 6/17/25 reflects approval not required endorsement consistent with the application received. The engineering department defers to planning and development regarding procedural requirements. Number 4, the department recommends that shared driveways be utilized to consolidate new entrances onto Asa Meiggs Road. Closely spaced driveways can negatively impact traffic safety. This was not addressed. In bold, it states, it is noted that the layouts of lots 1 and 2 may support a common driveway. Number 5 in italics, the CAD submitted does not appear to identify the reference coordinate system and units. It is recommended that this be clarified. In bold, this is not addressed. The coordinate system and units issue remains with the CAD file received on 6/26/2025. New comments. Number 6, regarding the requested waiver. Subdivision rules and regulations 3.A.2.m, the plan shall show the location of public or private wells and septic systems on all abutting properties. The department does not object to this waiver request. Second bullet, cluster development special permit regulations, 1.B.3.B. Portions of the open space may be utilized to provide a buffer zone of no less than 50 feet in depth between proposed lots and any adjacent existing residential lots not within the cluster development. The department has no comment on this waiver request. Please contact the engineering department with any questions regarding this. This is from Sam Jensen.
May I add one item?
Absolutely, Sam.
Since this memo was going, we've actually received a CAD file that addresses the issue that I raised. So at current time, that has been resolved.
Now I'd like to open up the matter to the applicant's representative, Attorney Fitch.
Thank you. And with me tonight is the applicant himself. This is Bob Bevilacqua, who's the manager of the applicant company. We are here hopefully seeking I think I counted as 4 votes from the board tonight. After all this time, we started, it was April the 3rd, and as you've seen from the correspondence and the report from Sam, our engineer misread some of the rules, and happily all of that has been addressed, and we appreciate Sam's report and the fact that it was ahead of time so we knew what to expect here. So we think everything is in place for your consideration and vote. What we're looking for, or what we want to do, is a very small cluster development. It turns 3 lots. And the rules are generally written for things that are considerably larger in scope. But this is a 6-acre site, and we can do, courtesy of the demonstration plan, we can do 3 lots. And what we can lay them out as is without creating any new asphalt. And we think that's a good thing, a positive thing. So what you're looking at on the board there is the division of the property into 3 40,000 square foot lots, plus open space, which amounts to a little over 4 acres. And nicely, to the upper and left, you can see it merges with open space from the adjacent development. And then there's a little street there, and it joins still further open space. The off-site spaces are about 2.5 acres by looking at the assessor's maps. Plus the 4 acres here creates a nice undevelopable space. We do not have to construct any roads, so we presented it as an approval not required plan. The plan certainly depends on your approval of a special permit. So those are 2 of the votes that we'd like to see tonight, that there is a special permit granted and that this plan is worthy of endorsement rather than approval like a subdivision plan. The 2 additional features are that there would be 2 waivers involved. In Sam's report, I read the one about you could use the open space to run between the lots and the abutter, but it should be a minimum of 50 feet. And we had this discussion, I think, last time. We would like to see the extra space added to the bulky or the more contiguous piece of open space there. So it's shown less than 50 feet. So we're asking for a waiver of that requirement. As you know, regulations of the board under Chapter 41 can be waived when it's in the best interests of the project. And the second waiver would be the one that we're always asking for with your requirement that an approval not required lot show adjacent wells, I think, and septics. The size of the lot here is is large enough so that there's no question that well and septic system can be on the same lot. Also, town water is in the street. We're not honestly sure it's available, but it is there. And that decision, whether to do a well or town water, remains to be seen. But those are the 4 items. And the way this process works, again, it would be fine with us. In fact, we'd recommend that if we could have the votes tonight and then wait, because there would be an appeal period. And the plan doesn't do anybody any good unless it's based on the special permit. And until the special permit is final, meaning the expiration of the appeal period, we can't record anything anyway. So that would be our request, that maybe we submit things, discuss it to the extent we want to, submit things to a vote, and then reopen the file 20 days down the road for endorsement of the plan. Let's see, there was one other matter too. The open space is to be protected in perpetuity, and I'm glad Steve mentioned that he'd seen we did file some restrictions. I filed an extra request that certain language be included in the special permit, because that will be part of the record title. And the more people that see what the open space is supposed to be all about, the better. Well, that concludes, finally, our little project.
Are there any questions by the board for Attorney Fitch?
I just have one about the driveway. Just, are you opposed to just keeping that as a shared driveway between those 2 lots?
The answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Bob
Yes,
can explain that.
It just creates problems for everybody.
The shared
Having shared
driveway.
driveways, it just never works out right.
Okay.
Do without it, it's much.
Okay.
It's one of those things that's a nice concept. But frequently, you marry people next door to each other, basically, in the maintenance of this thing. And the strangest things can happen.
True.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I'm just curious, Attorney Fitch, I noticed that you did get rid of the one strip between lots, right, it's 1 and 2, but you preserved the strip between 2 and 3, if that's the correct number. Yeah, I was just curious why.
Why? That was an engineering thing that had to do with the shape factor,
Yes.
as I understand it. That was the sole reason for it. Yeah, we narrowed it up because I just prefer to see it all in the.
I agree. I think that
It was a shape factor thing.
the strip between the lots creates a problem for the shade factor in those 2 lots, is that?
It's pushing it, apparently it's pushing it pretty tight.
I'll say, thank you.
I think there might be missing of the word not. In the declaration of restrictive covenants, it says, where it says open space shall be left undeveloped, that paragraph, but may be used by residential lot owners and invitees for recreational activities consistent with a residential neighborhood. And then it says, and may be otherwise developed. But I wonder if it means.
I was trying to reference the bylaw. I think that's the language that's in the bylaw.
Oh. But
Sorry,
only
I don't
as-
have that with me, but that's,
Oh, but only as otherwise developed by the cluster development provisions of the sandwich.
I wanted to link it to,
Okay, I see the end, yeah, because reading it, I guess, without that little piece, where it says maybe otherwise developed, kind of, I just paused there. Okay, yep,
I'm open to.
yeah, I know, I see the back end of that
We were
now.
trying to be faithful to the language of the
Yeah.
bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'd ask for a motion to close the.
Open to the public.
Oh, I'm sorry, public? Nope, okay. Thank you, Maureen. All right, now I will ask for a motion to close.
One more item.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sam.
It was pointed out just before the meeting that the title block there, it has date of approval and date of endorsement below the signature line.
Right, and I think we're going to take out one of,
Before we close the public comment period, I want to just raise that. And is there any response that you would have? I would just ask the applicant if they'd have a response to that, how they might remedy that.
The applicant would suggest crossing out approval, because
that's what we
I mean,
got right
just-
there. Okay. So if everyone's okay with that, thanks, Sam.
Yep.
Okay. Now I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing for the cluster special permit.
I'm sorry, for the cluster special permit, we have, my understanding is we were gonna talk about the A&R and see if that met the standard the board expected for endorsement, and then we then discuss the cluster special permit.
Okay.
except the A&R is dependent on the special permit.
Seem to be.
It is, without the special permit, it's not an A&R. So I think it just, in thinking it through sequentially, I would say we'll deal with the special permit first.
Oh, don't,
Okay.
oh, you do?
No.
Oh,
That was contrary to my understanding, but I'm,
because would you need the approval not required to show that it would have the 3 lots?
That was just a demonstration plan.
Oh,
That was the
okay.
first, step one was a demo plan to show that if you use the cluster regulations, you can do 3 lots. The next step is, okay, we ask for a special permit. If we get the special permit, we then show the plan that is in compliance with the special permit. That's the sequence, the way I would see it. This is,
I would have thought you'd present a plan that meets all the requirements and specifications in order to obtain the special permit.
the demonstration plan did, but that doesn't require approval. That just requires an opinion, which the opinion has been given that, yeah, 3 lots could be done. Okay, so let's ask for a special permit. And if we are awarded the special permit, then it's the A&R plan.
And the A&R plan that we're endorsing is going to be the cluster.
Exactly. Because it couldn't be a cluster without the special permit.
Okay, I don't know how that reads in the bylaws. I understand your reasoning to that extent, because we're not approving and endorsing the plan as demonstrated, the demonstration plan. We're endorsing this plan under
Right.
that approval not
Right.
required.
The demo plan just starts the whole process.
I can
But
understand
it doesn't,
that.
it never gets recorded. So what's recorded is the A&R plan. And I have waived the 21-day requirement too. So we can take as long as we need.
So procedurally, I guess I'm sorting this out collectively in real time based on it. This is different than my initial understanding of the steps we would take. So we do have prepared a draft permit, which I understood was to be read into the record. If the board elected to go forward with that, it doesn't include conditions. So that goes with the cluster, I understand the cluster aspect, the special permit aspect of this action. They are combined together. And I understand that there are a couple instances of precedent for the board acting this way, taking the A&R and issuing the cluster permit. I wasn't there for those. So just wanting to cover all the bases for what has to be covered in the hearing and for the board to make good deliberations, to have a decision that holds water.
Jennifer, do you feel comfortable with going ahead with the cluster permit?
I'm reading because I understand your reasoning and it makes sense to me. I just don't know how it works, from the bylaws. So I'm just kind of giving it a quick.
I hope that's the way you would interpret the bylaw.
Yeah, I just kind of want to look at it before I.
Yeah.
Because it says here.
And I would argue for this sequence, even if it was a subdivision where there's new roads being created, because you couldn't do the frontage in the area on the lots unless you had the special permit.
So a definitive subdivision approval, because under the cluster development regs, revised in 2002, so they could have been updated. It just says it requires both a special permit and a definitive subdivision approval, which isn't necessarily an approval not required.
That's a poor choice of words by
Okay.
whoever drafted that.
Whoever drafted that. Because that's why, because that was originally labeled definitive, ironically
A
enough.
definitive, that is a definitive plan. It's
Yeah.
also a approval not required, but it's definitive in the sense that definitive means it's final.
But yet we had to change it to the approval not required, because didn't that read originally definitive plan, and then it was
Or
updated?
definitive
to-
is, there's either a subdivision plan or an approval not required plan. There's no such thing in the subdivision control law as a definitive plan.
Okay,
That's why I say it was a poor choice of words for our bylaw,
okay,
because you either have a subdivision or you don't under subdivision control.
so,
The initial plan also had a block, the planning board approval would be required, so there was some artifacts in that plan from a different process.
okay.
So this fits, my understanding was A&R is the last plan of record that the board would look at, and then once construction is complete and as-built would go to the building department.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I would need more time to look through this, because like you in real time, I'm looking up into that. If we are required to make a decision tonight, I think it makes sense what you're saying, because how could we approve a plan that we're not approving and then approve a cluster after the fact? It doesn't really kind of logically make sense.
That's the way I was looking at it. And
Right.
I don't see anything wrong with applying common sense to a bylaw.
Yeah, which I think, any other comments on any of that? I'm happy to keep kind of seeing if I can find that.
Other members of the board?
All right, well, if that's what everybody seems to be okay with. Is there any other comments on any other items? I mean, if we're otherwise fine with it, we can move forward. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that there's a substantive issue that's come up about what's proposed. I think there's ample room to talk about details and terms, and I apologize for not having the depth of knowledge to really bring that to the table. I thought we had a stepwise process going forward, and the discussion is a little different than that, but I don't see how it's not still valid.
And I guess, for argument's sake, if we were to be incorrect, right? That problem really is kind of more yours than it is ours, because, right? Because now they're gonna have to deal with having to fix it. So,
No,
I mean, does that kind of logically make sense if it were to be challenged and were to be overturned, or how would that, or would it just end up?
if you were to allow the special permit tonight
Yes,
and vote to endorse the A&R plan after the appeal period expires,
oh, it's after the appeal period expires.
and
Okay.
we're urging you to do the votes and then just close the file while the appeal period hopefully expires without appeal. And then we'll come back, because when we record, we have to record the package at the same time. The restrictions will refer to the plan recorded and the special permit. So it all has to be done at once.
Mhm. Okay, so we would be taking a vote tonight on the cluster, approval on that, and then it would come, we would wait until, or we do the.
No,
A&R,
you could vote to endorse it
and then wait to.
upon expiration, when the special permit becomes final.
When it becomes final, okay.
That would be the proper term.
I mean, it makes sense. I just wish I kind of had the bylaw to kind of read and
Go back
digest
to
it,
it, yeah.
because otherwise I'm just really relying on the logicalness of it all.
But I say, that's good when we're talking about interpreting law.
I do have the regs here if we want to recess, but putting on the fly might still be.
Is
Oh,
there,
yeah.
is this that unique of a situation? Is there not a precedence for the order of
Right.
events?
So I asked about precedents for doing it in this manner, to combining the two decisions, and the answer was able to cite 2 or 3 instances where it's happened, including fairly recently. One was Paul's Way. The second, I think, was the more recent one, but I can't recall the name of the street.
So if the board followed the sequence of events before, is there any reason we wouldn't follow the same sequence today?
I can't speak to that. I wasn't there for those hearings, so I'm not exactly sure stepwise how it was done.
Okay. But there's a few precedents of doing it as
Yes.
suggested tonight.
If you look at the bylaw, even speaks to wanting, for efficiency's sake, combine everything. I mean, there's a sentence in there to that effect.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna have an answer on the fly, so if everybody wants to move forward with it, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, but if there's a comment period, right, if there's an issue.
Does the board feel comfortable moving forward with this evening?
I do.
Yeah, my only discomfort is just the uncertainty that's being expressed by fellow board member, but I'm okay with it.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not uncertainty, I don't know the answer, and I don't have enough of experience with this particular situation to really interpret the bylaw that's being referenced, that's all. So, assuming that it's correct, I am comfortable with it.
All right, then we will move forward with asking for a motion to close the public hearing for the cluster special permit.
To make a motion to close the public hearing for the cluster special permit.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Now we would ask for a motion to endorse the A&R.
I make a motion to endorse the A&R for the
Madam
Cluster
Chair,
subdivision.
excuse me for butting in.
Yeah.
You've left out a step. You got to do the special permit first. The A&R is based on the special permit. It would be wrong to do it out of sequence, I believe.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay. So the next motion would be a motion to approve the special permit.
Because you have a decision, you have to read through the decision, and you have to discuss the decision before you make a determination. You don't just vote. So we have a decision which we can hand out to everyone, and then we read through it.
Okay. We got off really easy last time.
Oh, is that what it is? You're doing great.
Thank you.
If you'd like me to go through this, I believe we were supposed to read this into the record, and I imagine there'll be some discussion based on conversation.
I will move forward to read it into the record.
Or I can staff.
Would you like to?
I
I would love to have you read it into the
hate to
record.
subject you to my monotone for that amount of time, but my understanding staff tends to do it. Cluster special permit certificate of approval denial. On July 1st, 2025, the Town of Sandwich Planning Board voted to approve, denied, a cluster special permit under Article 4, Section 4400 of the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaws for property located at 36 Asa Meiggs Road, Sandwich, as shown on Assessor's Map 3, Parcel 048. The Planning Board certifies that the decision attached here to is a true and correct copy of this decision to approve or deny a special permit, and the copies of said decision and of all plans referred to in the decision have been filed with the Planning Board and the Town Clerk. The Planning Board also calls to the attention of the owner or applicant that General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 11, provides that no special permit or any extension, modification, or renewal thereof shall take effect until a copy of the decision bearing the certification of the Town Clerk, that 20 days have elapsed after the decision has been filed in the office of the Town Clerk and no appeal has been filed, or that if such special appeal has been filed, that has been dismissed or denied, is recorded in the Registry of Deeds for the county and district in which the land is located, indexed in the grantor index under the name of the owner of record, or is recorded and noted on the owner's certificate of title. The owner or applicant shall pay the fee for such recording for registering. A copy of that registered decision shall be returned to the Planning and Development Office as proof of filing. Any person aggrieved by this decision may appeal to the Superior Court or Land Court as in Section 17 of Chapter 48 and Mass General Laws by filing a notice of action and complaint with the town clerk within 20 days of the date of filing of this decision. So this is the draft, so please note any changes you'd like to see or errors so we can address them. Procedural history. An application for a cluster special permit with an approval not required was submitted on April 3rd, 2025 under Section 4400 of the zoning bylaws. After proper notice was given, the public hearing was opened on May 20th, 2025, continued to June 3rd, continued to June 17th, and potentially closed on July 1, 2025. The application was accompanied by a plan entitled Cluster Definitive Plan of Land at 36 Asa Meiggs Road in Sandwich. The plan dated December 19th, 2022, prepared by Existing Grade Inc., as well as a proposed deed and restrictive covenants. A plan entitled Conceptual 3-Lot Layout of 36 Asa Meiggs Road, dated December 19th, 2022, was submitted with an application on April 3rd, 2025, and a revised version dated May 27th, 2025, was received on May 28th, 2025. A subsequent plan was submitted on April 30th, 2025, entitled Cluster Definitive Plan of Land of 36 Asa Meiggs Road, prepared by Existing Grade Inc., dated June 17th, 2024. A further revised and stamped plan, entitled Approval Not Required Plan of Land for 36 Asa Meiggs Road, Sandwich, Massachusetts, and dated June 17th, 2024, was submitted on June 23rd, 2025. A further revised and stamped plan, entitled Approval Not Required Plan of Land for 36 Asa Meiggs Road, Sandwich, Massachusetts, and dated June 17th, 2025, was submitted on June 24th, 2025, bearing the professional engineer stamp of Edwin H. Glass. Following members attend the hearing. Findings. The board finds that the project area consists of 6.5 acres with 296.5 feet of frontage on Asa Meiggs Road. The board endorsed an approval not required plan to create 3 clustered lots with open space. The board finds that each of the 3 lots created are 40,000 square feet with 50 feet of frontage on Asa Meiggs Road. The board finds that the lots are partially within the Water Resources Overlay District and Zone 2 Wellhead Protection Area. The board finds that the project is wholly located in an R2 zoning district. The planning board finds that the cluster subdivision plan substantially conforms to Section 4400 of the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw and the cluster special permit regulations of the Sandwich Planning Board. The planning board finds that the proposed project satisfies the requirement of Section 4432 as the land area is compromised of more than twice the lot area required in the R2 zoning district. The planning board finds that the proposed project meets the criteria of zoning bylaw Section 4400 as follows. Section 441A. The number of dwelling units is equal to the number that could be constructed with a conventional grid subdivision as demonstrated on the plan entitled Demonstration Plan. B. Section 4443. The dimension of the lot shown on the definitive plan is described herein conform to the dimensions set forth in this section. C. Section 4446. The open space is preserved for recreation or conservation and does not comprise less than 30% of the area of the proposed development, excluding land subject to inland wetland regulations, Section 40, Chapter 131 MGL, and the building coverage within the open space does not exceed 5% of the open space area. The planning board finds that the proposed project is superior to a conventional grid subdivision in the following ways. A. In preserving open space for conservation and recreation. B. In utilizing natural features of the land. C. In allowing more efficient provision of streets, utilities, and other public services. And D. And is at least equal to the conventional plan in other respects. Cluster development special permit regulation findings.
I'm sorry to interrupt. In the past, have we approved each section, I think, as we go?
Right. Thank you.
Just to see if we can have comment on each one?
Yeah, findings and conditions at least, yes, you're right.
Yeah. Or even just like procedural history. If anybody has any comments on any of it or anything?
Should be a motion for the findings and a motion for the conditions.
So here's your motion, it's fine to just, these are more findings.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's not an issue. That's the issue. One
Is
of
that-
the questions that we have.
Item 8, Steve, that needs to be deleted, 9 should be renumbered.
Right.
So,
So are we going back to Look at the findings.
Probably should we do procedural history first to see if anybody has any comments on that, and then go to the next one, and we'll go through that, if that sounds okay.
Sure, we take corrections in stream, and I believe we look for a motion on the findings and conditions as we get down to that. We can discuss corrections section by section.
Okay.
So procedural history. Are there any corrections or comments about that?
There's an 8 with nothing on it, so 9 should go to 8.
That was put in to see if you were reading the document.
Yeah, oh, Jack was.
Okay, any other comments? No, okay, then we will go to findings.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes, sure.
Those, just the plan dates, one was dated June 23rd and one was dated June 24th. They were one day away. Just want to make sure, because that,
I believe we have one that was on the 23rd that was followed by a stamped plan on the 24th.
the stamp plan, that's what it was,
Those are the
okay.
submitted dates, yeah.
Okay, the stamped, revised, and. Okay. Those are the
If
dates.
no other comments, we'll go to the findings. I guess this is where I'm a little confused, because I note under the findings, the board endorsed an A&R plan to create the 3 cluster lots, and we haven't done that.
Right, that was our expectation going, was the A&R was up front, but it seems like,
Should we take that finding out if we decide that we're going to approve the plan first and then?
if you change the sequence, then yeah, we'd have to adjust that, we can do that.
So I'm missing a nuance, because we did endorse. We did endorse something. What was it? Wasn't this? We endorsed the concept of the 3 lots. We did that.
Yeah, and I guess.
Is it just a titling? Is it a titling issue?
Circling back to the whole logic of it all, right? Like, how can you approve a cluster if you haven't approved the A&R too? Because there is that piece.
Thought we
Because if you approve the cluster, then
I thought we
you
approved
don't
the
have a plan
concept.
that you're
You
approving
approved
it
the
on.
concept.
Yeah, I thought we
You said-
approved the concept.
Right, so okay.
Like, it looks like this can move forward.
I think we did that at a previous meeting, actually, but
Yes.
it wasn't,
Yes.
Yes, we did.
it wasn't an endorsement.
Right.
And they can't be done like simultaneous, because they feel like they should literally be done at the same time concurrently, that one wouldn't necessarily follow the other.
Yeah, doing it in this manner, it seems like it's kind of Gordian knot. Where do you start? Because each one's contingent on the other.
Correct.
Did we at that meeting, though, take a vote that we endorsed it?
No, we were taking a vote just to, kind of like a straw vote,
Then we were,
Yeah.
that we would be willing to endorse a plan such as this
When
based
we got
on
more detail.
when we had the detail and all Sam's issues were addressed.
right.
So yeah, so I guess we're circling back to the issue of what comes first, the chicken or the egg.
Right, yeah.
Well, we do need to pick a lane, because we can't
Yep.
keep doing that.
Well, we have, now this is cluster. I was going to suggest maybe these findings were applicable to A&R or just in general, but they contain cluster material too, so. Because cluster findings follow.
I would feel comfortable approving the cluster and then doing the A&R, but I mean, what does the rest of the board feel?
Yeah, I don't think
I
it
feel like there's no
matters.
substantive issue here. This is
I don't-
procedural, so
yeah.
I think we've defined a way to move forward.
We may have to document the way to handle this if we're going to continue to do it.
Yep.
Until then, yeah.
You okay with that?
I mean, I think, yeah, and I think it's fine because from a deliberation standpoint, we're all on board seemingly so with the A&R. So as long as everybody agrees to that, yeah, I don't see a problem with doing it after the fact. It does feel a little bit disjointed, but.
Okay, so we need to do something with number 2.
Got a suggestion, Hannah. The board reviewed a demonstration plan and acknowledged that the applicant could create 3 clustered lots with open spaces on the parcel.
Yeah, I think that's
That
great.
sounds good.
Love it.
I think that sounds great, yeah. Just reference the plan, the specific plan, so you can bring it into the record somehow.
Okay, anything else on the findings that anyone would like to discuss?
And then on 3, where it says the board finds that each of the lots created to be created or proposed to be created, because they haven't technically been created. So proposed, submitted for endorsement to be created.
To be created, yeah.
Then you change the sentence in 4 as well.
And would you reference the plans though? Because like if we're referencing the plan showing, as Jack suggested, should you make reference to like the specific plan because it hadn't been, was it referenced in the procedural history?
It should be in there. We really indexed everything that we have.
Oh, the conceptual, it was number 4. So yeah, it's called conceptual 3-lot layout. So just reference the conceptual one.
That was a definitive one that resulted in that.
Number
Go look at the submission dates and see real quick.
Yeah, because number 4 says a plan entitled a conceptual 3-lot layout of 36 Asa Meiggs, which I'm assuming is the conceptual plan, and we would just keep that conceptual language, kind of drop it down into the findings, like Jack suggested.
Any other findings that the
Uh,
board would like to discuss?
In number 4, the board finds that the proposed lots are partially within a water resource overlay. And then it says the planning board finds that the cluster subdivision plan substantially conforms. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, 'cause 7, it references a proposed project.
That's good.
Those are just verbatim out of the bylaw, I believe.
So should we kind of run through that one again? The findings as we're redrafting so we can make a decision on them.
So starting with number 2 under findings. The board reviewed a demonstration plan entitled Conceptual 3-Lot Layout of 36 Asa Meiggs Road dated December 19, 2022 that was submitted with the application on April 3rd, 2025. Revised version dated May 27, 2025 was received on May 28, 2025 and reached a consensus that the subdivision would yield 3 developable lots.
Should we reference like developable lots, like under,
Sure, the planning regulations.
yeah, these are the bylaw is that meet the regulations. Which one is that one? What's that, 2600
Should be the-
or something?
I think the subdivision regulations. Are you looking for?
It's 2600, section 2600, is that the conforming?
Thank you. Item number 2, the board endorsed, I'm sorry, I just covered that one. Each of the 3 proposed lots to be created are 40,000 square feet with 50 feet of frontage on Asa Meiggs. Item number 4, the board finds that the proposed lots are partially within the water resource overlay district and zone 2 water protection.
Remainder unchanged. So 2, just want to make sure, so it's going to reference that the board, can you read 2 one more time, just so I,
Findings number 2, the board board reviewed a demonstration plan entitled Conceptual 3-Lot Layout of 36 Asa Meiggs Road, dated December 19, 2022, which was submitted with the application on April 3rd, 2025, and a revised version dated May 27th, 2025 was received on May 28th, 2025. And reached a consensus that the subdivision of the parcel will yield 3 buildable lots under the Plan Subdivision Regulation, Section 2600.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but what does consensus mean? Does it mean like everyone agreed, or the board, would that be, should we include more definitive language?
What it calls a poll, you want to say a poll? Board poll. It's consensus.
The board unanimously agreed, if that's.
Was it?
I don't know, it was,
I don't
yeah,
know that
that's
it
right, I
was.
don't know if it was.
No, it
So
wasn't.
that's kind of hard
But
to
if the
do as
board
a
en-
finding.
I mean, do we endorse it?
I just wanted to point out.
Yeah.
A little further down the line, number 8A, I think it's the same item, but it's maybe language that was used on previous decisions regarding, you're talking about the demonstration plan, right?
Oh, okay. The number of dwelling units equal to the number that should be. So can you say what is the,
Well, it gets at the number of dwelling units is equal to that, to the number that could be constructed with a
Oh,
conventional
okay.
grid subdivision, as demonstrated on the plan entitled Demonstration Plan.
okay, so that kind of
Like,
takes care
we're
of,
saying it there.
that takes care of it.
We could get rid of number 2.
So just get rid of number 2. Okay, thank you. Much easier.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, so strike number 2. And then we'll reference number 3 is submitted for endorsement. Okay. With that, I approve of those findings.
Okay. We need to go over cluster development special permit regulation
Anybody
findings.
else?
Is everybody else okay with that?
Yes.
You have to second, you have to have a second to adopt, so Jen
We can
motioned to
adopt it. I'll
adopt
take
the
a vote, yep.
findings, so we need a second on
I'll
that.
take a motion to adopt the findings with striking number 2 and revising number 3 to the 3 lots proposed to be created. And 4 also proposed lots, those 3 changes I endorse, make a motion to endorse the findings.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right. Okay, now do we need to go through the cluster development special permit regulation findings?
My understanding is that it has to be written to the record to be seen. Cluster development special permit regulation findings. Number 1B1A. The planning board finds that the proposed cluster subdivision encompasses at least twice the lot area required in the R2 zoning district. 2. 1B1B. The planning board finds that the plan does not involve more than one ownership. 3. 1B1C. The planning board finds that the application does not include proposed restrictions regarding landscaping and structures. 4. 1B2A. The planning board finds that each landowner's interest in the land to be developed is included in the application materials. 5. 1B2B. The planning board finds that the form of organizations that own and maintain common open space is included in the application materials. 6. 1B2C. The planning board finds that the covenants, including grants of easement, are included in the application materials. 7. 1B3A. The planning board finds that the cluster development open space is held for the common use of residents of the development. 1B3B. The planning board finds that the portions of the open space are not utilized for a 50-foot buffer. 9. 1B3C. The planning board finds that common open space is to be preserved for recreation or conservation and that the proposed building coverage is less than 5% of the open space area according to the application materials. The planning board finds that the common open space comprises not less than 30% of the entire proposed development shall be preserved for recreation and conservation for the community use of the residents. 10. 1B3D. The planning board finds that ownership of the common open space is arranged and maintenance of the open space is permanently assured through a recorded land agreement through which each lot owner in the development is automatically a member, and each lot is subject to a charge for a share of the maintenance expenses, or through a comparable arrangement satisfactory to the board. 11. 1B3E. The planning board finds the preservation of the open space is guaranteed by covenant or comparable legal instrument to the community for use and enjoyment of the residents of the development tract for recreational purposes, serving those residents and their non-paying guests only, or for conservation.
Okay, let's open that up for conversation.
Was there a recorded land agreement for maintenance? We have the restrictive covenants, but I don't think that there was an agreement for maintenance of the open space permanently assured through a recorded land agreement through which each lot owner in the development is automatically a member, so like an association.
The covenants.
Was there?
Pardon? There is no association.
Right, yeah, but there's one of the regulation findings is that we found that the maintenance of the open space is assured, yeah.
It's not assured in that fashion, it's assured in an alternative fashion, which is allowed.
So we would have to strike that.
That would be appropriate, I think, in this case.
Or, yeah, I don't think that is fitting in this instance.
So do you want to craft a substitute finding, because these are the regulations for issuing the permit?
Excuse me, what's that?
Do you want to craft a separate finding that's inapplicable or along those lines?
Well,
I think we have to, don't we?
I think we might, yeah.
So there's not gonna be an agreement with the 3 lots?
Oh, there is.
Okay.
There is.
Okay.
There is. With these smaller lot numbers, you just can't create corporations and.
Right.
So there are restrictions that bind the 3 together. Everybody would own a 1/3 interest, and everybody would have rights of enforcement. And the idea is to maintain the property undeveloped.
Which is fine, this made its way into the findings. So this one provision, so we're talking about whether or not we can just strike it, or if it needs to be addressed, is basically.
I would say you can just strike it.
Yeah.
Because there are alternative.
It's not, is it because it's not being maintained? It's the restrictions that you can't do anything.
It's a question of what
It's being maintained open, it's being maintained open.
You maintain it by leaving it alone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, which
I'm
I'm
with it.
comfortable with, as long
I am
as it
too.
doesn't require that it be any revised provision in this 1D3D section, if the whole thing can just be stricken. Are you saying that it can't?
I'm not, again, I'm a little thin on past practice. It's a finding for issuing a special permit regulation. It hasn't been requested for a waiver, so.
Okay, so it's a requirement under the bylaw, and it would require a waiver.
Could maintenance, I mean, I'm considering different scenarios where maintenance would be an appropriate term to use, right?
For leaving it alone?
Well, if, let's say there's a tree that comes down from the open space and, lands on someone's property, that, they need to be able to get in and clean that up, presumably by going onto the open space piece. I don't think that if it's language that's in our regulations, Steve says, and it's something that we would have to take a separate action in order to expunge it from this record, then I think we can probably do just fine with that word maintenance in there.
The subject to charge. Share maintenance expenses, so.
But this one's talking about a recorded land agreement, so it would require some sort of an association, no matter how informal, I suppose, pursuant to this is.
Well, isn't the recorded land agreement the covenant?
It is.
Now, it doesn't address maintenance, though.
Oh, with your permission to speak,
Yes.
there are going to be 3 owners of this property. ownership brings responsibility. If, as Jack's discussed, what if occurred, a tree fell down, as an owner, you'd have a responsibility to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. I mean, from a conservation standpoint, I think the best thing to do is leave it where it lays, or lies, excuse me. I think that's the conservation thinking when things fall down in a conservation area. On the other hand, if somebody, and this is what occurred to me, what if this 4-acre piece becomes a dump? Well, the town has it to be maintained for conservation and recreation. If that is not happening and a dump is occurring and starting to pile up, the town has rights of enforcement of the zoning bylaw. It really is that simple. The building inspector is the zoning enforcement officer. If this area is not being maintained, he simply advises the owners, the 3 people there, 3 lot owners, to maintain it, because it's got to be in compliance with the special permit.
That makes sense, but to go back to, I think the example was that it didn't just fall in the woods.
If it fell
That
out
it
in
fell
the
out
street.
of a house,
Yeah,
or
but
it
if
fell
you're,
in the street.
if it falls in the street, an owner at your own home, then you get into that question about over the line. I guess legally you're not responsible for things to fall over the line.
So,
That would be an ownership responsibility.
and kind of reading the whole piece, it says the planning board finds the ownership of the common open space is arranged and maintenance of the open space is assured through, at the end it says comparable arrangement satisfactory to the board. So I think it does leave some deference. And I mean, arguably, if the owners pursuant to the restriction receive a 1/3 interest, it's gonna run with the deed, so they're gonna be a 1/3 owner anyway. So then if there was a tree to fall, they'd be 1/3 liable.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so I think I'm okay with it worded as.
I mean,
comparable
if I were one of the
arrangement.
1/3 owners and there was a tree near the property line that I knew was compromised and could fall, that's where you get liability for things falling across the property line onto your neighbor. If you as an owner disregard the obvious, you are liable.
Yeah, and I think through comparable arrangement satisfactory to the board, which I'm finding this.
That's what I've tried to create.
Satisfactory, yeah.
A situation which is manageable and which is unquestionably the responsibility of these owners.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that
good with
piece,
it.
I'm
Yep.
fine with that.
Any other comments?
I make a motion, Jennifer Rising make a motion to move and adopt these findings of the planning board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and we have to go through individual votes on this? We just, no? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, conditions of approval for, proceed, sorry. I don't mean to, I should ask your, thank you. Conditions of approval for grant of special permit. At the public hearing, the planning board considered potential conditions of approval for the special permit. The planning board voted, and the following conditions of approval shall be imposed upon the special permit approval, and that these conditions are reasonable and that the applicant and its successor in interest should be bound by these conditions. 1. Failure to comply with all the conditions set forth in this decision shall terminate the grant of the special permit. 2. Pursuant to the requirements of the Sandwich Protected Zoning Bylaw, Section 1330, the grant of special permit shall expire upon A. Transfer of ownership prior to initiation of substantial construction on or occupancy of the site, unless such transfer is authorized in this permit, or B. If no substantial construction or occupancy takes place within 12 months of special permit approval, excluding such time required to pursue or await the determination of an appeal referred to in Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 17. 3. The special permit shall not take effect until it is recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, and a copy of the recorded special permit is provided to the planning board. 4. A common driveway must be used to access at least 2 of the subject lots, with the total number of curb cuts for the 3 lots limited to 2. 5. The proposed open space lot shall remain in its undeveloped condition in perpetuity. 6, erosion controls must be in place prior to construction and maintained throughout. 7, the applicant and its assessor in interest shall comply with the Town of Sandwich Planning Board cluster special permit regulations throughout the duration of cluster subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think they wanted number 4, though.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that or agree to that. With the common driveway, so I'm okay with that being stricken if everybody else is.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We understand the basis for it, it's just a best practice. If engineering would have comments.
I don't know if we can, I think I don't think we're supposed to be taking outside comments. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Outside, right?
Can we do it, take it from Sam as part of, are we still in deliberation? Is this,
Yeah, I think this is still deliberation, correct?
This
Yeah.
is deliberation, and the board really shouldn't be having any outside comment.
correct? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I guess if we're going to deliberate then, we can talk about it. I mean, the applicant preferred not to have the common driveway. It sounds like that's common practice, and the comment in the memo, let's see, what this
Is it closely spaced driveways can negatively impact traffic safety?
So from a safety perspective, it probably is gonna trump the wishes of the applicant. So if it's recommended for safety reasons, maybe we should consider it be added. Or make it 10. It's in between.
Other comments, speak up, because
Oh,
this is.
Yeah.
Someone that has a common driveway, I completely understand the applicant's reluctance to have one in this case, so I'm okay, with all respect to Sam, I'm okay with it being removed as a condition of this permit.
Okay. How busy is Asa Meiggs? Is it like a really busy
No,
road?
it's pretty busy. Other comments as far as,
Is it, I can't tell, is it a rule or a suggestion or a waiver?
Do you say common practice?
it's a recommendation from
Yeah.
the town engineer.
Are there a lot of common driveways in Sandwich, common shared driveways?
I have one too.
I think there are, yeah.
I have one as
I
well.
think there are.
And you find it dangerous?
To be honest, I think that's its own set of concerns safety-wise, because people are pulling in and out of the same. So, how far apart are the drives?
Oh, we can't talk. It's
Oh.
supposed to be just the board for
Yeah.
deliberation, yeah.
Steve, you know how far apart the drives are?
They aren't plan yet, so I don't.
I don't know if they're subdividing the. Yeah. All right. So, let me look at the plan. There's some names there. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on it? So Jack, you're in the, camp of you're okay without the shared driveway?
Yeah,
is
that's
that-
correct, yes.
I agree with Jack.
I agree.
I have to say, I agree too.
Okay, well then I'm on board, so. Consensus to strike, it sounds like unanimously.
Okay, anything else that you want to discuss?
There's just a typo on item 6.
Yeah.
Place. Erosion controls must be in place.
And then, is sentence 6 supposed to end with throughout construction? Or
Yeah.
throughout the length of
Prior to construction and maintained throughout. Do you feel strongly about that being in there?
Well, I think you can do both things, so I think the intent is probably construction,
Yeah.
because you would be maintaining after. And
All right, very good.
So what was that one?
Prior to construction. Maintained throughout construction.
Oh,
Or until disturbed areas are stabilized.
Anything else that we have?
Is that it? Any other comments? Could I have a motion then?
So just to kind of,
Oh,
just to
sorry.
revisit the changes, so it sounds like there's been 2 proposed changes to the conditions of approval for grant of special permit, specifically striking number 4, and then adding at the end of 6, so 6 would read erosion controls must be in place prior to construction and maintained throughout until all disturbed areas have been stabilized. Any other, is that all of the requested revisions, changes? Okay. I, Jennifer Rising, move to adopt these as the conditions with the changes noted of the planning board.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay,
Go ahead, Steve.
proceed to the decision. After reviewing the application, the plan, and other materials submitted, and after giving due consideration to testimony given at the public hearing, the board hereby approves or denies the cluster special permit application for property located at 36 Asa Meiggs Road, Sandwich, as shown on Assessor's Map 3, Parcel 048, pursuant to the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaws, Section 4400, and is further described in the Cluster Development Special Permit Regulations of the Sandwich Planning Board.
I, Jennifer Rising, move to approve the cluster special permit in consideration of the findings of the planning board and subject to the conditions as stated herein.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now I need to sign some documents, or is it, are there any other votes that we have to take on this matter? Are we doing the A&R? Okay, could I ask for a motion to endorse the A&R?
Yeah, where's the plan? I, Jennifer Rising, make a motion to approve the A&R plan of land dated,
I'm sorry, the technical, it's approval not required, so the motion should be different.
thank you, yeah. So I make a motion to approve the approval not required plan of land for 36 Asa Meiggs dated June 17th.
It's endorse the approval not required plan.
Endorse the approval dated June 17th, 2025.
Second.
Is a second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone.
That's all I
Let's
can
get out
wrap
of
up
here.
with.
Before this guy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
The discussion was good.
Thank you.
Thanks for the patience.
Do I have to sign something now?
We're requesting to do that after the appeal period is
Okay.
over. I'm not sure of any precedent for that or any reason to or not to, since we
Okay. All right. All right, is there new business?
Poor guy. Yeah, we're all warmed up.
5, AKA 7 and 11 Academy Drive, approval not required, 7 Academy Drive LLC, for the purpose of adjusting shared lot line, transferring 3,887 square feet from 11 Academy Drive, parcel number 72-086 to 57 Academy Drive, parcel number 72-08. Open the matter to Steve for an overview.
Sure, so I think everything's reflected in the staff report from the planning perspective. It was a little redundant maybe, but given the number of parcels, lots, and street numbers that were in the plans and narratives, I wanted to try to make it as clear as I could that 0.09 acres being transferred from one property to another seems to fit within well. They both have the vital access that's required on the road and the frontage that's required to make such a change. And that's about what I have for you.
Yeah, we also have a letter from Sam Jensen, and I will read it into the record. to Nicole Ouellette, our chair, planning board, from Sam Jensen, PE town engineer. Date June 26, 2025. Subject, application for endorsement of plan believed not to require approval, parcels 72-086- and 72-085- in parentheses 11 and 57th Academy Road, close parentheses. The engineering department has reviewed the subject application and offers the following. 1, it appears that the subject plan proposes a land swap between parcels 72-086- and 72-085-. Parcel A would be transferred from 72-086- to 72-085-. Both parcels are occupied with residential dwellings. Lot frontage would not change as proposed. 2, the plan generally conforms with the planning board subdivision rules and regulations, section 3A, plans believed not to require approval under subdivision control law, with the exception of, in italics, 3A, 2I, sufficient topographic delineation, including existing streams and bodies of water shall be shown on the plan or a separate plan to allow the board to determine if the lots have adequate access. In bold, these parcels are occupied and have established access. The department would not oppose a waiver of this regulation. Next regulation in italics, 3A2M. The plan shall show the location of public and private wells and septic systems on all abutting properties. In bold, septic system component locations were not included with the material received, and it is not known whether either of the subject parcels are served by domestic water supply wells. It is recommended that the applicant's surveyor certify that the proposed lot configuration would not create a nonconformity for wells or septic systems. Sam, do you have any comment?
No, otherwise, with that, the exception of the absence of information on wells and septics, it looks like a fairly straightforward proposal, in my view. A simple land swap as they described it.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Would the applicant like to speak?
Sure.
And
Good
your
evening.
name?
My name is Brad Lamont. I'm with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I represent the applicant for the approval not required plan you have in front of you. Just piggybacking off of previous discussions, I believe this one to be a fairly straightforward one, where they're just looking to transfer some land that was previously held within a access easement, and they're just looking to make that more of a permanent solution with a small access easement to the north of that, just to allow the resident of number 11 to use their driveway.
I'd like to open it up to the board for any comment or questions.
Is there a response to the engineer's comment recommending we certify the proposed lot configuration would not create a nonconformity for wells or septic?
I did look at that, and it will not. That didn't make its way onto the plan. I would be happy to furnish a letter stating such. However, to fully comply with that, we would have had to show wells and septics for everything around here, which was just a little bit outside the scope of this particular area. I did reach out in this project infancy. I forget who I talked to, but they did say that that was likely not be a problem. But again, I would be happy to furnish that letter if need be.
Other members of the board? Sam?
Were you gonna say something, or?
I'm sorry, Sam.
Yeah, I would just follow on that and just, do you look at the subject lot that the land is being removed from? And where are those components located on the lot?
I believe they're outside 100 feet from the proposed conveyance.
Okay. I would say that it's at risk for the property owners. There's really not a lot of risk for the town either way. With this, it's more, in this case, it'd be more of an advisory issue. It'd be much better if we had clarity as to where those components are. That's why the regulation is in there. In this case, with the plan being what it is with a simple land swap, I'm not overly concerned about it.
What does it entail? I mean, do you just have to go to the board and, or like the department to find out where they are and just to put them on? So it really wouldn't be that heavy of a lift, right, to put them
I
on
believe
there?
we've already done that, and that's what I'm saying, to show them on here would have been way outside the direct locus subject area of the plan. Again, I can prepare a letter stating that they are well outside, and they would not create any nonconformities with the proposed conveyance as is.
I'm sorry,
I was curious if the properties are served by town water.
They very well could be.
Sam, do you know the answer to
It's
that?
likely, but I don't know, and it's really not our purview to do the certification. That's something the applicant surveyor should really be doing.
I mean, if the work has been done and if it is municipal water, I don't think it's difficult to do. And I think it's just good practice to do. And so I'd like to see it on there, especially if engineering noted it. And if it's, you know, if they're on municipal water, then it's that simple.
And it's really my concern is just the locus property, you know.
Right, not the surrounding, right? That,
Correct.
by taking land from here to here, you didn't create
Correct.
a
Like
problem.
that regulation has
Yeah.
much more bearing where there's going to be a larger division of land, a larger A&R with undeveloped land and new homes being put in, new homes, new wells,
Yeah.
and all the setbacks have to be met. In this case, that is not the case. I would just advise that we just get clarification that the new boundaries don't create any nonconformities that could otherwise be avoided.
Such as the line cutting across the septic system or.
Even a setback issue with the septic
Yeah,
component.
I'm inclined to agree with Jennifer. I think it'd be good practice to get it shown on the plan. And, not for this project, maybe a project down the road where someone's referring to this plan, they'll have that information available to it.
If we allow it now, then it's just gonna be coming before us. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's good practice.
I just want to be clear though, because you were concerned about the heavy lift, like it's not a large area, it's just the two properties,
Even just the one,
even just the one, okay.
but the land's being subtracted from.
Yeah, just a septic system and you can just go to the Board of Health and just
Okay.
find that, yeah. Okay, cool.
If there's no further comment, do we have any motion at this point to endorse an A&R? Or do we want to get,
I think maybe just get it and then come back.
I just have a
Yes.
procedural question, can you
Yes,
endorse
so
with
we
the
have
condition?
so we have 21 days to endorse an A&R.
Okay,
So I would have to look at the date of receipt of the application and then count the 21 days.
June 24.
So bear with me.
Yeah, that was
Literally.
Adjacent lots and piece of land that's been swapped between the two owners. So,
So, June 24th, we received it?
Yes.
Okay. Sounded too simple.
Yeah.
I believe that's July 15th, let me confirm. Okay, so that would mean that if you're asking the applicant to come back with another plan, then we would be scheduling a meeting for July 15th to do that.
is that agreeable to everyone?
I have a question.
Mhm.
What did you say?
I'm not a planner, I don't pretend to be a planner, but I know that if the plan meets the criteria for an A&R endorsement, it should be approved
within 21 days.
within 20 days.
Without the.
And I can't comment on that, Jack, because I'm not a planner. I just know the administrative side.
Steve, you
of it.
might know, or maybe.
So
Can we condition an
That's what I was
A&R?
saying, can we just condition it?
That would be,
Because then we gotta see it and see where it is.
Well, if approved with the condition that it's validated on the drawing. By whom?
Approve with the condition that we receive certification from,
By the next meeting.
It's an approval not
from
required.
Merrill that there is no problem there.
It's an approval not required, though.
Yeah, so can I?
Yeah,
So
sure,
the
sure.
distinction that I see, again, take that for a grain of salt, but so the submission requirements for the plans, and the strict read of that is actually that the plans show private wells and septic of all abutters. So that's why it could be a big lift and really
Right.
blow up where the plan goes. And
Right.
the interest that's been identified is this particular change in land likely to affect wells or septic systems, as well as providing homeowners with information. But the approval not required is still, there's no approval, so you can't condition the approval. And the criteria for meeting the A&R, as I understand it, is access to, proper access to the road and adequate frontage. Existing lots here, so.
Are you suggesting the question is outside the purview of this board?
It sounds that way.
For the A&R, it seems like it is. So it's the purview of the board because we have requirements for what a submission is to be acceptable. And this deviates from that a bit. We've talked about whether it's substantive or maybe procedural. But the A&R, the requirements for certification is the 21 days, the frontage, the access, and let me just look at the reference here. Three criteria. Lots shown on the plan must be one of three types, must front on one of three types of ways. Lots shown on such plan must meet minimum frontage requirements, and the planning board's determination that vital access to such lots is otherwise exists, so that there's drives access on the road.
So nothing about septics and
No.
So it sounds to me like we need to approve them.
me too? Because is it, I don't know if this is the right words, but the plan drafted is conforms to the requirement for an A&R.
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so I get it. So it's a valid concern, but,
Like I mentioned, I think this is pretty low risk.
okay.
So could I have a motion to endorse an A&R?
Yeah, I move that we endorse the A&R.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of endorsing the A&R?
Aye.
I'm gonna not endorse it at this time, just because
Okay. Is that
yeah.
opposed or abstained?
I'll oppose it.
Okay.
I think you have enough to carry it. I'm
All right.
gonna oppose it.
Do you have enough to carry it?
Oh, I'm sorry. For the A&R, it's 5.
Oh.
Fine.
One, two.
I'll approve it. That's fine. I'll be
So
on
much
board.
pressure.
Yeah, I don't like not having to know where that septic is.
So, I made an error there. I'm sorry. This guy didn't have you. The A&R was 4. The special permit was 5.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go with it. It's fine. It's low risk. Don't like it, but it's low risk, so it's fine.
Okay.
May I add something? If it helps clean things up on your end, I will still furnish that letter.
I think that would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, and I need to sign.
So let me shift gears here. This-
How did it get all the way over there?
I don't know, Ann. I don't know.
Hey,
Okay. All right.
Steve, did you move that file?
I did. We need the date. We're counting days.
We'll probably pour when we leave too, Ann. Okay.
Can I do this with pen?
Yep. So can I ask a procedural question while we're doing this? Because this is a place I often find myself confused. So if the plan provided conforms to the requirements, it has the elements required. And to your point, like you feel more comfortable if it had the septic on it.
I think there's more within case law. I think I'm actually gonna read through. I've never fully read through the A&R handbook. And I just don't know how our bylaws interplay. That's the bare minimum. Those three things that Steve read are the bare minimum in our approval. So, yeah, I'm just gonna familiarize myself more with the handbook, because like there was here's argument about septic system in this case, but it was more specific to the risks that Sam was talking about with subdivision.
Different
and-
situation.
And the buffer within your, like if you have two small lots and then you switch land, now it's gonna be too close to septic system and it won't meet setbacks or buffers. Yeah, I think that was when we might have a stronger argument. I don't even know if we could have a strong argument to really deny it based on this. But that's just with a quick second read of.
But they're still required to meet those setbacks. Even if we're not validating it through our public hearing, they're still required to meet the setbacks.
Right, but if they're already existing,
No.
and then we subdivide it, now we've created an issue
Let's just make
by
sure.
way of by way of moving the landlines.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, this isn't by the way.
Do you need to stand up?
So like if you
But
have.
they're still, they're required to subdivide it in a way that conforms to the
Well, so
setbacks.
you have a house here and a house.
I know what
here.
you're saying.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
have a septic and you have a septic here, and now you're gonna move this lot line over here.
I know just what you're saying.
Now you don't have that setback. We just created a problem.
Okay,
But
so
they're required to subdivide it to meet.
you
that
are all
setback.
set.
This would be misspelled. That's my question.
Okay, planning board. Are there any matters not reasonably anticipated that we need to discuss? There is one thing I would like to, I think everyone knows that Jeff Picard has moved on to the finance committee and has left the board. I want to thank Jeff for his long service to the planning board. He'll be missed. And are there any other matters that we should discuss this evening?
Maybe not this evening, because it's been a long meeting, but perhaps put it on the agenda for next time, just an update on those items, the zoning articles that we discussed last month.
Okay.
And what happens now, we're a member down? We can discuss next time.
Yes, we can.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We're down one person, what
yes,
happens now?
Yep.
Okay, could I have a motion for an adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
So like here, so this is the, I'll show you
I
that.
just want to thank everybody for their patience. I know that was.
Oh, yeah, can I have a vote on that? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? No one's opposed.
No, that's fine, we made it through.